Relationships hold one of the biggest challenges for so many people. Finding one that suits you, finding the right one for you, and also, once you're in one, is it the right one for you? And should you stay there, is it going to last forever? But the first question when people attend the retreat that we have for them is, what is your relationship with relationships? Where did you get the idea that you needed to be in a relationship? What do you want from the relationship? What is it delivering for you in terms of, is it bringing you happiness? Is it bringing you peace? Is the other person bringing you something that you can't otherwise have? And are you bought into the idea of relationships because you've been submerged in a world that seems to suggest you need one, seems to suggest that everybody should have one? So the first question is, what is your relationship with a relationship? Why do you need one? And then, if you do need one, what pressure does that place on the other person in the relationship to conform to what you need from your relationship? And then the question of, what if your needs of a relationship constantly and dynamically change? So you get into a relationship and what you wanted when you got in isn't what you want right now from the person that you're with. The truth of relationships is they are an idea-based construct. They are a subjective concept, meaning that you have created your idea of a relationship and everybody else will create their own. Each one will be slightly different. It will have different requirements, different behaviors. It will expect different things from the other partner. So relationships are a subjective and complicated area of life. And finding one that will remain stable relies on some unseen things. How do two people with differing ideas of a relationship structurally and what they want from a relationship get together and then maintain their expectations in the same way or change them at the same time as each other so that one of the parties doesn't fall out of the relationship by being unable to conform to changing needs and changing requirements? The first thing to notice is you are making up what you need from a relationship. You're also deciding what it is bringing to you inside. So is it bringing you happiness, peace? Are you dependent on that person to be with, to have fun with, to play out with, or to stay in with? And if you are dependent on the person for that, have you given responsibility for how you feel inside away to something outside of you? Because if you have, you've lost control of how you feel. And most relationships are a sign of a dependency in the outside world that most of us don't even see. So the creation of the idea of a relationship is fundamental. And then what is your relationship with whether you need one or you don't is a big question. Do you need a relationship to be happy? Are you dependent on a relationship to be happy? Or could you be happy without a relationship, without placing the responsibility for how you feel onto somebody else? The interesting part of this is that all over our lives, in every aspect of our lives, whether it be travel, whether it be money, whether it be careers, we're always creating an idea that we become dependent on. I need this much money to be happy. I need a relationship to be happy. I've got to go on holiday and I'll be happy on holiday. And what we're doing is externalizing the way we feel and projecting it into an external entity, such as another person or a place or a thing like a house or a car or money. It's an interesting human pattern to create a concept that is outside of themselves and then decide that their happiness depends on it. Relationships are one of the primary and most visible areas that happens. So if you are doing that, the question is, do you need to? Do you need to create concepts outside of yourself that you later become dependent on? Or have you accidentally fallen into kind of a conditioned habit of doing that? When you were little, did you suddenly start to create concepts of things that would make you happy? Maybe it's Christmas presents, maybe it was birthday presents, maybe it was parties, maybe it was playing out. Maybe you knew the things that wouldn't make you happy, so you conceptualized them. So the rain, you couldn't play out in the rain, so you decided that that was the thing that would take your happiness away. As we see that we are conceptualizing projections that we sit outside of ourselves and then decide we either need or need to exit in order to be happy, we suddenly see the nature of things like relationships. We see that some relationships, the one we're in that we don't want to be in, gets conceptualized as the thing that is making us unhappy. So we are constantly thinking about how to exit it. Other relationships are the one we haven't had yet. So we imagine having a relationship with a certain person or having a relationship non-specifically, and we decide that we'll be happy if we have our relationship. And we've got a pretty clear idea of what that relationship should look like. This is a world where we are subjectively creating the things that dictate our happiness and control our state of being, and that we are placing them outside of ourselves into other people, places and things. And in that world, we are susceptible to the outside world changing us and changing how we feel. So in our aim to have a good relationship or to decide whether to stay in a relationship, it's a really great thing to do to start with the question, why do you need one? And how did you come up with this concept of that if you have a relationship, you'll live happily ever after, and that you'll stay with the same person forever? And how did you decide you needed to be in that situation for your long-term happiness? Was it because you were watching films, for instance, where the lead parts got together, or maybe got together once and then found other parties to get together with and live happily ever after? Have you seen it time and time again where people are supposed to get together and live happily ever after? Because if you have, and you're learning your behavior and your conceptualizations from that, then you are being conditioned into believing that your happiness lives in a relationship rather than in a decision you make as to whether you're going to be happy or you're not. This is important because what we end up doing is debating the right person, and we debate whether to leave somebody and find a new relationship, whether to jump ship and get into the next relationship, or whether we are lonely where we are because we don't have a relationship and we need one, and then construct a whole mission and goal to go find the person who we can have this perfect quote-unquote relationship with. It is in all of that effort and all of that construct that we don't actually see that what we've done is created an idea of what will make us happy, and we're just chasing it. We're just constructing a projection of where our happiness lives that is not inside us. It is a projected idea that lives outside of us. And instead of just deciding to be happy where we are and be at peace where we are, we decide immediately to be unfulfilled by saying, I can't be fulfilled until I'm in a relationship, and I can't be fulfilled unless my relationship is the right relationship and carries on forever. Will we live happily ever after or not? Massive question. Who could possibly answer that? And why do you need to? Is it okay to have several relationships through your life? Is it okay to have a relationship now, and if it doesn't work out the way that you want it to because your ideas of life dynamically shift, is it okay to just get a new one? These questions are not the questions you ask yourself because you've got this conditioned idea of what is a good relationship and what is a bad one. And a good one lasts forever, and a bad one is shorter term and where you drift apart. But really, we're having relationships with people that are short term, medium term, and long term all of the time. And it's only for you to judge whether they're good or bad. Each one plays a part in your life and takes you in some way forward. So, do you need a relationship to last forever or not? Ask yourself, what is my dependency? Do I really need a relationship to be happy? Because if I do, I am placing a massive responsibility upon the person I get with. Imagine having the responsibility for somebody else's happiness. Because if you think you'll be happy in a relationship and you won't be happy outside of one, what you really mean is, I'm expecting someone else to make me happy other than me. How could it possibly be somebody else's responsibility to maintain your happiness other than your own? And why are you giving them that responsibility? Is it because you don't want the responsibility of making yourself happy? Or is it because you've lost responsibility for your own being? This question's a big one, because if it is that you want to give somebody else the responsibility to make you happy, or the money responsibility to make you happy, or the travel, or the location you live, or any of those other aspects, then you have lost control of your own state of being, and you're not in control of your own happiness anymore. So when we consider relationships, maybe it's better to go a little bit deeper, take a few steps back and say to ourselves, okay, do I know why I want a relationship? Do I know why I'm in a relationship? Even though I've got these ideas about the things I need from this relationship and the things that would be good and the things that would be bad, are all of those ideas going together to say, my happiness depends on this person behaving a certain way, doing certain things, being interested in certain things, and not doing other things? Do I need this person to meet up to lots and lots of expectations just so that I can be happy? Because that would be giving responsibility not just to another person for your happiness, it would be giving responsibility to every expectation you have of them. So anything they deviate from is going to impact your happiness negatively, and everything their presence and their compliance is going to be something you need. So you need control over them, and you're completely beholden to the behaviors that they've got. So the question you've got is that the position you want to be in when you say, I need a relationship, or am I in the right relationship, or will this relationship last forever? Is the real question you're asking is, will this person make me happy forever? Will they live in my expectations forever? And will our ideas match forever? It's a strange question when you start to ask it that way, isn't it? So maybe the question and the journey you want to take now is, why am I creating ideas and projections for where my happiness lives, instead of starting to retract out of my ideas and start to take back control for how I feel? If I want to feel happy, surely that's my choice. If I want to feel free, surely that's a choice I make. It is not dependent on the actions of somebody else. Relationships are complex, and that's because the question of whether you've been conditioned into believing you need one, and you have become dependent on every small behavior that somebody else might have, and your expectations of another individual as a result, the question of whether that is practically useful and long-term sustainable is the biggest question. So relationships should be a big question, but maybe not in the way you've already been asking it.